weekend hangout, and welcome to all the new people this week. We've got Shaun Downey with us tonight. Welcome, Shaun. How you doing over there in the UK?
Yeah, pretty good. So yeah, let's see what this week's got in store for us.
Yeah, it's a critical week. It's going to be the end of the month. End of the month is always critical because it's one of the larger time frames, and so we're very interested to see where the markets are going to close coming into the end of the month. And as we go through different markets tonight, we're going to show you why that's important, and we're going to give you our views on which markets we think are going to react off those monthly closes. So sit in, grab a coffee. We'll be about half an hour tonight. We're going to try and keep it a bit shorter. And if you've got any questions, please put them in the text box along the way, and we'll do our best to answer those. For anyone new for the first time, there's various levels of technical detail that we can get into. Look, at the end of the day, we've got a very simple system that you can use. So don't worry if we do get technical at some time. What we've developed is designed to work with anyone. So just bear that in mind. So tonight we'll have a look at various global markets. There's a few in particular that we've got our eye on very closely. Last week we looked at the pound. We've been looking at that for a little while now, and we might just sort of evaluate that move higher that we've been calling for a little while. We called gold lower last week, although we're right at a critical point now for gold. In fact, for our clients, I just put a video up on that on our Facebook community site that covers off gold in a little bit of detail. We'll certainly go through that again briefly tonight. We're also very, very interested in equities. There's a few clues with regard to equities this week coming from bond markets that we'll review in due course, and also it looks like we're at a turning point for currency. So pretty much seems like everything is lining up for a bit of a move in the next little bit. And certainly in the case with equities, have been sideways since early December now. We broke higher last week, so it's going to be, we can hold that high and that breakout coming into the new month, and it looks like we're going to be away for a move higher. But I know I've certainly seen stranger moves at the end of the month where what's seemingly unstoppable can reverse very quickly. So it is a critical time, and Tuesday we're going to have lots of comments for our clients on our Facebook site to update where the final closes are and what that means. So also tonight we'll probably have a quick look at a technical indicator in detail. And look, if you want to get involved, please feel free to go to the website. Everything you need to know is there. It's tradingsafely.com.au. For anyone new that's listening tonight, we scan markets for our clients. We find opportunities. We let people know what we think's going to be a good trade. We have in-depth education and a community site where people can pay attention and get involved and ask questions. So feel free to get involved by jumping on the website and trying to reach out to us if you'd like to get involved. First of all, however, just a little bit about us. Do you want to give us a very, very brief background who you are?
Yeah, I've been trading since 1979, 16. Traded all asset classes, apart from things like swap markets. About the only thing I never really traded. Run various private funds over the years. Written technical commentaries, dailies, 2 books. Built a load of studies. So these days, really just mentor my client list really in the professional and now in the retail world. So sort of semi-retired from that, and spare time help my wife and daughters with their doggy daycare business, which particularly cold this week, I have to say. It's not much fun, but spring will be coming, so we're at the dark days of winter for woof woofing.
Right, and just a little bit about me. I've worked with Shaun now for about 5 years. I've also been a professional trader for about 15. I worked for Optimum Australia in particular, and also worked in software trading development. And these days, I live up at Port Stephens in Newcastle. It's been hot today, so looking forward to jumping in the pool after this. But
Oh, nice, mate.
just
Nice.
just read one, if you wouldn't mind just reading through our general information disclaimer. It's very important. So, Shaun, what was your, just while people do that, what was your market of focus of the week?
Well, it was the pound,
Or
really. Yeah, I mean, the two main things. Firstly, the pound, which a couple of weeks ago hit that major support at 120.46, I think it was. What was interesting there was because we use equalized active futures contracts, our low is different to what the market has or what the spot market has, which always interests me, because when the levels work that well, I know that nobody else has got them. So that's always very pleasing. So the pound going up, it's gone up against all the cross rates. I think probably that's where more action could be than against the US dollar. About the only one it didn't really move on was the Kiwi. Australian dollar, we mentioned last week. It stopped stone dead at 3 up on the monthly and 2 up on the quarterly on range deviation. So see whether that continues back down again. Equity wise, there was a buy as a continuation, divergence time continuation, buy on the DAX on, I think it was Wednesday, just exploded upwards. Resistance is a long way away. And then on the E-mini on the same day we got it. So we followed through a little bit. Google's results came out on Thursday. They disappointed. Microsoft beat, so Microsoft's making new all-time highs. Google, you might want to call up Google. It's basically coming back to a major support point around 839. So, so even though they've disappointed and they were down a bit, I remember when they beat about a year ago, and the stock dropped $90 in 2 days. And that was after they beat. So they sort of missed and only gone down a little bit. This week we've got Apple Tuesday, Facebook Wednesday, Amazon Thursday. So this, in combination with the end of the month, means that by Thursday, as far as I'm concerned, the market has got all the information it needs to decide what it wants to do. And obviously what equities do will have some sort of impact in bonds, which have been pretty quiet, a little bit under pressure, but not much. So really by the end of this week, should have some very clear indications of what the market wants to do. The S&P's got to try and hold, I think it's 1273, which is the breakout point. Ideally, we don't want it to close back below there. I don't mind if it goes below it intraday. I don't want it to do it on a closing basis, because that would put us back into the sideways pattern that had been there since the beginning of December. And then what you've got to do then is you've got to see whether it breaks down, which is below 22.43, or to get bullish again, it's obviously going to have to take out this week's high. So, which sort of raises risk a little bit because the range is expanded. So pound and equities, I think, the main things.
It's just flicking over to sort of the FANG stocks, anyone that's listening out of America. So when we look at sort of Europe, we've got monthly range, which of these 3 levels down, 1, 2, 3 above and below. So now the yearly, and for the first time 4, 5, 6, well, we can close the managed deviation and pivot of the higher. That will also really need the next couple of days to get off from. We look at actually we're going to get a similar story, I guess. Yeah. So, no, we haven't got a new high yet on Facebook. Certainly had an extreme, and often it's also into a critical neck. Do the sell signal is that Shaun?
Sorry, yeah, you keep on cutting out on me. I'm not sure whether that's happening for everybody. I'm sort of hearing you.
Yeah, the energy. My apologies.
Sorry.
I was just interested in Facebook.
Facebook, well, it's coming up against that final resistance, isn't it? So that's going to make or break that. We had a little bit with that sort of indication with Google where it went above it. So pretty important. If it does close above there, then it can, you know, it's a whole new leg higher, which is a bit like what Microsoft has done. I think we've got the same thing on Amazon. So, you know, we get this week out of the way, and regardless of whether the results are whether they beat or they miss, then some of the major stocks will be effectively at all-time highs, which means no resistance. So away they can go. I mean, Amazon's got a major level at 847, which is a monthly level.
Yep.
So it's pretty critical, you know. It's I'm not too concerned about whether the companies beat or miss per se. It's, I mean, the ideal, to be honest with you, the ideal scenario is they miss and the stocks go up. That's utopia. You know, much easier to trade bad news, good action than good news, good action. So important week, you know, they're all sitting there. So we'll just see what happens and then be prepared to jump on ship. I mean, there's a few that's been on the client list this week that were not tradable because they've got the results coming out. So Tuesdays before the opening is important. You've got FLWS, which is a florist, online florist, I think they are. In the unloved sector, I think they're number 197 of 197. And languishing at $10. You can see that there was a sell signal at the highs and it gave some exits recently. So I'm interested in that one. The results come out before the opening. And the other one is COH, Coach. This is number 196. And this is apparel. I can tell you now that about 2 years ago, apparel was sector number 1. So it's gone from, quite ironic, fashion has gone from fashionable to unfashionable. Their results coming out on Tuesday as well. There was a buy, I think, on Monday or Tuesday. Oh no, it hasn't been yet. Yeah, sorry, it rallied on Tuesday and then it's drifted back. So I'm watching that one to see whether something comes out. Another unloved sector is CAH, which is Cardinal Health. And this is a really good example of where there was a signal that superficially looked like it was an automatic buy on Tuesday, and where it was breaking out to new highs. So you can see that buy, that little blue triangle. But what I put out on the client note was that actually what needed to happen is that there was a yearly level just sitting above it, I think at 76.33. So the comment was that if we close, we have a weekly close above 76.33, that's going to confirm the breakout, you can get long. And of course, there's plenty of space there. That red line on the chart is up at around 85.50. But the next day we gapped lower, it went straight back down again. So a good example of where the combination of studies help qualify whether a signal is true or not. The other one that people did get involved in was Disney, DIS. That broke out, I think, about 10 days ago. We said at the time it needed to, the ideal scenario is it comes back and retests that breakout point. And one of our clients on the ball and pointed out to us, I did actually miss it, but pointed out to us that he's done exactly that. Yeah, so you saw that bullet, the second blue triangle, which was coming into that red line. So that wouldn't have been a buy because you're coming into resistance. We break up, we do take it out, but then we come back to that red line and it acts as support perfectly and gives us another triangle and away we go. So the second triangle is far more tradable than the first one. So some people involved on the long side of Disney.
It's probably worth taking note of Lucas that picked up on that. He gave us some very good testimonial. I'm just seeing if I can find it, because it was excellent testimonial. I might have that ready for next time. All kids.
Okay, just one thing on Disney. Their results are Tuesday week, so that was another reason why it was tradable, because it was outside the 1 week window for when results are coming out. So it's got plenty of time to move, as it were.
Yeah. Just flick through some global markets now, one at a time. Okay, everyone where we're seeing oil, nice signal here as it closed over range deviation 5 years bullish bias, starting with 53.89 right here. It's been most time around 310. Me personally, I'm just above that last year's annual basis for it to take out and look at the high. Nothing's changed. Raised deviation on the bullish side, buys to move higher, and with that, we'll get that. And after you into the next time, well, the now then the market. So different on oil. Shaun, anything different on oil?
Oil was had a good day on Thursday, didn't it? It's a bit choppy. There's not much there for me, really. I mean, oil and gas stocks have actually been doing very well, so they've moved into the top 10 sectors, which is a little bit frustrating for me, because I've been wanting to sort of get involved in some of these stocks, and it's just not setting itself up at the moment. So a little bit frustrating there. But yeah, it's got to take out that high. I mean, longer term, we're bullish on the year, aren't we? And nothing's changed there. It just feels as though it's not quite ready to go yet. So just holding fire on oil, I think.
Yeah, well, it's right now. It's I closed the year very bullish. It closed above our yearly first up and the quarter first up, and right now it's neutral, stuck between fleets. So nothing bearish there at the minute. Moving over to gold. Gold's at a very, very, very interesting point. Put a video out for our clients tonight. Saying there is that the way oil closed last, unfortunately, spectacular run up as an annual reaction up to 1370. It still managed to close the year in a neutral bias, closing under the first deviation pivot here. Since then, it's extended in the short run. It's the level to level. Really at 1190, is going to open up much lower.
So
given that we are overextended. Yeah.
Sorry, you're still breaking up. We've got people on chat saying you're breaking up. I can't hear you properly either.
Oh, okay. You can do the talking.
Yeah, I'll do the talking. Yeah, so on gold, we failed at that level. You could see that black square. So there was a sell on Tuesday, and we've drifted lower. It is a little bit a product of the dollar. I would say that gold has been weaker than what the move higher in the dollar is justified. So there is a bit of inherent weakness in gold. I always like to look at gold in different currencies to see whether it's just currency related or whether something has a genuine move, and gold does have a genuine weak move. So for it to get bullish, got to get above, I think it's 1233, and then there's a 1251. But at the moment, that sell signal's there, so under pressure. Next one, do you want to call up Nat Gas? That might be just see where we are.
Yeah. That gas actually there's been for control a yearly buy over the first dislocating around the first down, but it's remained upward.
Yeah, it's held it there. I mean, it's a little bit sideways. Sort of, it's not being moved by the weather, which is actually a good sign. As the weather's been pretty horrible in America most of the time, so it's not going up or down based on what the weather's doing. Actually, if you want to call up a stock, CVRR. This is the one stock through the week that's in that sector that actually is potentially of interest. It's a Canadian pipeline stock. I think there was some news from Mr. Trump about building a great big pipeline from, was it Alaska to Texas or something like that. So it got a push higher on Wednesday. You can see that signal there. A one-day move, so it's a story-related move. So a few short-term traders will jump on it. So now we've drifted back, and it's getting to that pretty critical point. So a little bit lower. It's still a valid buy, but you can get a better price than what it was originally, which means your risk is lower because effectively you don't want it closing back in that sideways pattern. So it's a very easy trade, and it's been fairly unloved for a long time, and it's just been pretty quiet. It's just gradually going higher. So that's the one in the sector that has actually come up as a potential signal. Going back to the main markets, I suppose, I don't know, do you want to call up the BTP, Italian bond, if you got that on a chart?
Yeah, just bear with me.
Just a little bit of an obscure market, so there'll be plenty of people on here that'll go, I didn't even know what a BTP was. Italian bond market. It's ironic that when the euro was created, the French bond future, the Spanish bond future, and the Italian bond futures, they all disappeared because the idea was that we just had a sort of like a euro future, which was the Bund, DB. And then over the last 3 or 4 years, which was probably the first signs, as far as I was concerned, that the whole euro experiment was going to do what a lot of people thought and crash and burn, was when they reintroduced these contracts, because effectively the interest rates between the different countries were beginning to diverge and therefore making a market, which tells you something about the different levels of how the economy is working within Europe. So Germany does very well out of it. Italy does particularly poorly, and France doesn't really. Well, I don't think they get the benefit they thought they should be. So they're struggling as well. The interesting thing on the BTP is it took out a weekly level on Thursday. That blue line bounced back up, and there's some political things going on in Italy. In that there's going to be an early election. There was sort of like a constitutional thing last December, which got voted down. And this is really the first set of elections in Europe. So we've got Italy, then we've got France, then we've got Germany towards the end of the year. And so I'm watching this market to see whether the bond futures go down, which means the interest rates are going up. So that final level there, which I think is at 130.26, is very, very important. If that level gets taken out by the end of the week, that would be a sign to me for the euro as a currency, because it will start showing some stresses and strains going on. So for me, while bond markets generally have been pretty quiet, this is the one I'm looking at. So keeping an eye on there, and that's about it on bonds really. Currency-wise, I suppose the pound.
I just called up the euro, Shaun.
Sorry, do you want to call up the pound? Yeah.
I've got the euro to that.
Sorry.
I've just called up.
Oh, you got the euro there. Okay, well, the euro's just come back into its support point, so you can see where it sort of pseudo broke out the week before, but not particularly convincingly, and now it's just come back to that area. So it's pretty important if you're going to be bullish of the euro. It's got to hold that. If it doesn't, then it's going back down towards the lows again. The interesting thing there isn't much in the way of support below the levels that are very close. So definitely potential for that to fall. There was a buy on the dollar index, wasn't there, I think, on Wednesday, which obviously works out to be a sell on the euro. That was Thursday. Yeah. So yeah, you see that little blue square ahead of a major support point, which was that blue line. Ideal scenario would have been if it had gone to that blue support line and then gave us a buy, but it didn't quite get there. It's got a bit of work to do. As you can see, there's a black line above price. If you close above there, which is about 101.35, I think, then it could go all the way back to the highs. Yeah, you can see the space there. So it can go all the way back there. So short-term bullish on the dollar. It's got to close below that 99.45 point, which is that blue line below, before we'd say that the dollar was not bullish. If you do the pound, so you can see that two blue squares at that final red line at the lows a couple of weeks ago, powered ahead, and we've had a minor retracement into the end of the week, but it's still a pretty strong move. As we said last week, we thought it was a major turning point on the pound. If it gets over, is it 127.30? That's the monthly pivot.
Yep.
So we're getting towards the end of the month, so it doesn't really matter. You've got to remember, with monthly pivots, they obviously all reset on Wednesday, and so it opens up space. So we had a sort of limit of what we thought the pound could do for this month, which is about 127.30, and it didn't. It got stopped about one big figure short. But of course, it's going to reset, so it's going to open up space again. So the 3 up will probably, I don't know, probably be in the low 130s, something like that.
Yeah.
Where will it be? It'd be one.
Yeah,
it'll
it'll
give it a lot more room. So pound is still bullish. Have a quick look at the Australian dollar.
It's very overextended.
Yes, it's been on a real rip. Stopped at that blue line, the monthly level, just went a little bit above it, I think, on Monday. But you can see there's a pale yellow line there, which is
weekly first up.
That's weekly first up, which was also monthly 3 up, which was also quarterly 2 up. So there was a real confluence of levels there, which is why on the client commentary, I just got involved immediately on, I think it was either Monday night or early Tuesday morning. I didn't wait to see whether there was any signal there. There was such a confluence of levels to create a very powerful zone that I was happy to get involved immediately. It means also that my risk is very low, because it's got to take out last week's high for me to be wrong. Be interesting to see. I don't expect it to just collapse, because when you get such a strong rally, any corrective moves by a lot of people is deemed as a buying opportunity. So I'd expect a fall to be quite laboured. That's one.
The third up there.
Yeah.
Third up monthly.
Yeah, there you go. Straight there. So it stopped pretty much perfectly. So confluence of range deviations are very important. The other thing that really made me interested was that we're in the 3rd week of the year, and the Australian dollar's already reached its 2nd up on the quarter. So that's really unusual, highly unusual to reach that sort of level that quickly. Especially really when, if you look at most other currencies, they're not necessarily moving a great deal, certainly not as much as this one in one direction. So Aussie is of interest. Just a couple of things on existing positions, going back to stocks. We had Pru in London, and that produced a partial exit on Tuesday, I think.
Internet's a little slow over here. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. And also the other one, get my code right, EXPN. Yeah, so you can see it just produced a little number 1 there. So people took some partial profits there. You can also see the brown line is starting to move down, so that's the trailing protection line. So if that gets taken out on a closing basis, then that trade will be over. On EXPN, it did a very similar thing. It produced, I think it produced a number 1 on the same day. Oh no, actually turned into a full-blown buy. So, so that trade has finished. Not sure exactly what the return was. Not a major trade.
I think we got stopped on Aluka Resources, but unfortunately went the other way. So it's always interesting where we've been wrong as well. Same thing will probably go down now, but we had a sell signal here. We spent 5-6 days in Woods, and then got to pay attention to that. It was a trade that didn't work. Anything else that we looked at?
The only other one was HBAN in America. This was an example of a trade that then had its results coming out without the trade particularly developing. So the thing that we put out there is to say that, okay, it's not making enough money to justify holding the position through the results. And so the position should be liquidated. We made a small profit. Their results came out, they beat, and as you can see, rallied on the Wednesday, so drifted back a little bit. An example of just trading carefully and safely and saying, you know, it's not developed enough to justify staying in the position. So that's about it, really. I think we're trying to stick to half an hour, and I think we've just about done that. So the month end is very important. Sorry.
I was just saying on 30-year, probably another little bit of equities, like a bit of break. But just more, you know, at the end of the month, West month, we'll up here, more evidence to the stock market's going to break. We'll know that on Tuesday. We're waiting for above last year's high, and then so then any question?
Let me just check. No questions this week. So, you know, as a recap, Tuesday's very important. Some results coming out pre-market, and then we've got Facebook, Apple, and Amazon. So the picture should have set itself up by the end of the week, really, on a lot of things. See what the week brings.
11.90 on gold, everyone, on Wednesday. We'll update the information. If you want to, just on the website to how we help you. I look forward to the weekend and to tell.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. See you all next week.